Ainli arrived in the world of the Great Qin and became a eunuch in the Xinjiang Palace, starting with the collapse of heaven. Fortunately, with the awakening of the system, Ainli gained the ability to extract genes from all things. Ding, the host has extracted Gecko genes and can choose to extract one of three. Camouflage, regeneration, and resistance. Ainli decisively chose regeneration. Ding, the host has extracted the genes of the horse and can choose to extract one of three. Strength, speed. Ainli. What is this? This. There's also this option. Won't anyone die? Looking at the strange options mixed in, Ainli tentatively made a choice. Keanu Yao. Little ancestor, you have taken the life of the AI family. Flame Spirit G. Master, where is your Jiao Chan? Extract ant genes and gain 400 times more power. Extract the genes of wild wolves and create a super army. Ainli said, the 7 kingdoms are too small, and I will lead the great merchants. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 001, Extracting Gecko Genes and Regenerating Fusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 001. Extracting Gecko Genes and Regenerating Fusion. New book seeks flowers. South Korea, Xinjiang. A stable near the west side of the Xinjiang Palace. Dozens of brightly haired war horses were neatly tied up in the stable. A young man in his 20s, dressed in white eunuch attire, was leaning against the stable. It seems like I'm still asleep. Ainli. Ainli. Get up, in broad daylight, who let you sleep here? Get up quickly. A series of calls came from the mouth of a middle-aged eunuch who was slightly older, with slender eyes and a white face. The middle-aged eunuch was holding a fork in his hand, adding provisions to the warhorses in the stable. Upon hearing the call, Ainli woke up again. The moment I opened my eyes, they were filled with confusion. Who am I? Where am I? Ainli, who had a middle-aged eunuch in front of him, looked around with a question mark on his face. The middle-aged eunuch glared at Ainli discontentedly and said, "Hurry up and feed the horses. If you starve the horses of the young masters and princesses, just wait for them to be whipped." Feeding horses. Princess. Young master. The next second, memories flooded into Ainli's brain like a tide. Ainli's eyes darkened and he almost fainted again. After a moment, Ainli, who was still sitting on the ground, had already regained his senses. In the late Warring States period. The Great Qin World. The Korean Palace. A eunuch who raises horses. Ainli instinctively was startled, and then disregarded the gaze of the middle-aged eunuch beside him. He directly pulled open his pants and looked inside. Empty, cool. Nothing. There's nothing. Ainli's face turned white with a brush. It's gone. Surprisingly, it's gone. Are you really going to become a eunuch? Just as Ainli was looking desperate, a burst of electronic synthesizer suddenly rang out in my mind. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining past life memories. We are currently opening the system for the host. Please wait, the system is loading. Ding, the system has been loaded. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the gene extraction system for all things. Detecting the host's surrounding environment. Ding, system prompt, scanning the host's surrounding environment. Ding, system prompt, scan completed. The closest creature to the host, the gecko, is currently extracting gecko genes for the host. Ding, system prompt. Extraction completed. Ding, system prompt. Currently, the gecko gene has been extracted to obtain camouflage, regeneration, and resistance. Please choose one of the 3 options for the host. The system sound in Ainli's mind was no different from the heavenly sound. Disguise. After obtaining this gene, the host can hide or disguise it as the host wants to change in a short period of time. Rebirth. With the ability to regenerate from a severed limb, as long as it does not harm the vital parts, one can have a chance to be blessed again. Resistance. Significantly low-pitched antitoxicity. Ding. The system prompts that the host can choose from 3 options. Ding, system prompt. Each special gene can only be extracted by the host for fusion once, and this type of gene cannot be selected repeatedly. System prompt. For example, if the host currently chooses to regenerate, even if the regenerated host is extracted from another species, it cannot be selected again. Is it still necessary to choose? It must be rebirth. Is it really possible to be a eunuch for a lifetime? Are you joking? System, I want to choose regeneration. Leah made a direct choice in his heart. Ding, system prompt. Congratulations to the host for choosing the Gecko gene regeneration function and fusing the regeneration function for the host. Just a moment later, Ainley felt as if a stream of heat had poured directly into his body. Next second. It seems that a certain part of the body has grown at a speed visible to the naked eye. Got it. It's growing out. It has really grown out. Ainley immediately showed a wild expression of joy. And the system interface in my mind has now unfolded. Ainley saw a row of places below the system interface that seemed to be similar to the skill bar. There are 3 spaces in the position. At this point, the first position has been filled. There is also this annotation above. Gecko. Regeneration, and the second and third skill bars are still in pitch black, as if they have not been opened. At this moment, the sound of the system rang out again. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the first gene extraction fusion. In 7 days, the second skill bar will be opened for the second gene extraction. System prompt. When all 3 skill bars of the host are full, the system will publish a task. After the host completes it, more permissions will continue to be opened. Look at the system interface and listen to the explanation in your mind. Ainley has roughly understood the operational mechanism of the system. Extract genes from species, fuse them, and acquire abilities. It is based on the specific characteristics of each organism. For example, geckos have 3 characteristics: camouflage, regeneration, and resistance. Open a skill bar every 7 days, which means you can get an opportunity to extract genes every 7 days. Can the genes I extracted be used on other species? Ainley asked in his heart. Ding, system prompt. The current level of the host is too low and cannot be used temporarily. However, after the host's level is improved, genes can be fused into other species. For example, what? Ding, system prompt. For example, if the host extracts beast genes and injects them into the Warhorse, it will enable the Warhorse to acquire the characteristics of a beast. What about that person? Can it be used on people? Ding, system prompt. Yes, for example, the host can extract genes from beetles to obtain strong defense capabilities, which can act on other people to obtain strong defense. Ainley's eyes lit up. So if one day one can fuse genes with other species, wouldn't it mean one can form a powerful army similar to monsters? If we use this kind of army to fight against ordinary soldiers from other countries, what kind of effect is that? Just as Ainley was immersed in fantasy. A cold snort came from beside me once again. Ainley, why are you so stunned? Hurry up and feed the horse. Ainley, who had regained his senses, glanced at the middle-aged eunuch beside him before remembering his current identity. A young eunuch who feeds horses in the palace in Xinjiang, South Korea. What are you looking at? Hurry up and feed the horses. I'm starving the young master and the princess's horses. You don't want to die, do you? If you don't work hard, you'll know how to slack off. The middle-aged eunuch Hifu glared at Ainli and put the hay in his hand into the manger. Ainli took a deep breath and eased his mood. Don't worry, let him be arrogant for another 2 days. This job of feeding horses may not be a good one. But victory lies in the tranquility and lack of people here. Usually, people don't usually come. Having fewer people means that one's secrets will not be discovered. Hide here first, wait for the system upgrade, and then find a way to escape after fusing several genes. After all, this is a palace. And now Ainli is no longer a eunuch, but a true man. After making up his mind, Ainli picked up the dry grass on the ground and started feeding the horses. P.S. New book Seeking Flowers, review tickets, monthly tickets. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 002, Extracting Warhorse Genes, Strange Selection. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 002, Extracting Warhorse Genes, Strange Options, Whips. New book seeks flowers. In a blink of time, it will be 7 days. In these 7 days, Ainli never left the stable. All day except for feeding horses, it's all about feeding horses. The remaining time is waiting for a full week before proceeding with the second gene extraction fusion. And today is the 7th day. So, early in the morning, Ainli got up early. According to the last time, the fusion extraction of genes should take place at noon. So, after feeding the horses in the morning, Ainli leaned against the stable, holding a straw in his mouth and waiting for time. In the system interface, the previously black locked vacancy is gradually turning white. It's almost fully opened. The scorching sun above my head is shining in the sky, and the sunlight is warm on my body. Ainli, leaning against the corner of the stable, comfortably stretched out. After completing this extraction, we are almost 3 times away. As long as I finish the 3rd time, I'll leave here. Ainli thought to himself in his heart. Being a eunuch in the palace for a lifetime. Don't even think about it. With the system, where can't I go in this vast world? In the late Warring States period. The 7 heroes compete for supremacy. The wonderful world outside is waiting for me. Pulling out a pair of pants, Ainli's smile on the corner of his mouth became even stronger. After all these years of hard work, there is no reason not to reason with oneself. As for whether to seek refuge with someone after leaving the palace, Ainli never considered this question. No matter who you turn to, you are still a dog. Why find a chain to tie yourself up and become a dog? It's not good to be the master yourself. So, even though he knew that the Great Qin might unify the world in the future, Ainli had no intention of going to the state of Qin. Time is passing minute by second. There is less than half an hour left until the second skill bar is opened. Ainli leisurely closed his eyes and leaned against a corner of the stable, basking in the sun, holding straw in his mouth. And it's at the other end of the stable. The black man, who was also a eunuch feeding horses with Ainli, hid on the other side of the stable and quietly watched Ainli. Behind Hifu, there was another middle-aged eunuch wearing a white robe and holding a floating dust in his hand. Hifu, there's not much money left for purchasing grass in the stable this month. This kid is here. If the amount of grass is reduced, he may be discovered. If he cheats too much, it would be troublesome if he reports it. Hee. You can't blame me for this, you have to figure out a solution yourself. Hifu looked at Ainli with a gloomy expression on his face. In the palace, everything big and small is managed by eunuchs. But as the lowest level eunuch, the monthly salary he receives is pitiful. And it also has to go through layers of exploitation by the eunuchs above. Wait for what you have, it's just a little bit. After these eunuchs grow old, they will all leave the palace. There are no offspring, because after castration, no one takes care of them, and the lives of eunuchs in their later years are extremely miserable. But if you have money, it's different. So, these eunuchs in the palace are constantly thinking about how to make money. Eunuchs have the right to receive bribes. But low-level eunuchs like Hifu don't have such a good fate. But there are always some other ways. Just like Hifu. When Inli had not come to the stable, the black man took care of more than 20 horses here himself. These horses belong to the prince or princess of the palace, and the daily consumption of grass is a considerable amount. When Inli had not yet arrived, Hifu joined forces with the eunuch who was purchasing hay to deduct a portion of money from the horse's hay. Since In left, there have been 2 people in the stable. The quantity of grass feed cannot be too small. And sharing profits with Inli, the black man didn't want to. So there is only one way in front of Hifu. Find a way to get rid of Inli. Looking at Inli leaning against the stable, Hifu's eyes gradually became malicious. Don't worry, I'll figure it out, Hifu said. Ding. As time passed, the sound of the system echoed in Inli's mind. Ding, system prompt. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the second opportunity to extract gene fusion. Please choose the species to request gene extraction on your own. Ding, system prompt. After the host selects the species for gene extraction, they will receive 3 options for the host to choose from. After hearing the sound of the system, Inli immediately showed an expression of information. Here we go. Finally arrived. With the second skill bar fully lit up, Inli, leaning against the edge of the stable, also opened his eyes. Inli opened his eyes and glanced around. The most eye-catching, and at most, there is only one thing. That's the warhorse in the stable. After thinking for a moment, Inli turned his gaze to the warhorses in the stable. Starting to extract species genes, I choose horses, Inli silently said in his heart. Ding, system prompt. Congratulations on completing the host selection. Currently, the extracted gene object, Ma, is decomposing extractable genes for the host. Ding, system prompt. Gene extraction completed. The current host has 3 fusion gene options. Power, Speed, and Whip. Power. After fusing the horse's genes, the host can obtain horsepower, and the warhorse can withstand 20.3% of its own weight, so the host can obtain power that exceeds 20.3% of its own. Speed. The host can obtain a running speed similar to that of a horse. Whip. Possesses enormous growth ability. Looking at the 3 options obtained by extracting genes from the system, Inli's expression was still normal at the beginning. After seeing the whip, Inli's face was marked with a question mark. What is this? What strange option has been mixed in? A whip. Having tremendous growth ability. For a moment, Inli fell into contemplation. Especially when you see the first 2 options. The first option is power. Having a power that surpasses oneself by about 30%. This doesn't seem very good. If we calculate according to this, if we extract the genes of ants ourselves, wouldn't we be able to gain 400 times more power than ourselves? Speed. At first glance, it looks good, but this horse's speed is not the fastest either. The system has already given a prompt before. Each gene can only be fused once. That is to say, if one integrates the power of warhorses now, even if they have extracted the power of ant genes, they cannot choose anymore. The same goes for speed. In terms of speed and strength, surpassing a horse is simply too much. So, these 2 cannot be chosen. Since these 2 cannot, then there's only one left. A whip. P.S. New book Seeking Flowers, review tickets, monthly tickets. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 003, Fusion Whip, Big, Big. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 003, Fusion Whip, Big, Big, Too Big. New book seeks flowers. Since we cannot waste the two options of power and speed. So there's only one option left. A horse whip. After thinking about it, Ainley decided not to waste the two options of speed and strength. Fusion whip. Ainley made up his mind. The next second, the sound of the system rang out in my mind again. Ding, system prompt. Congratulations to the host for fusing a new gene and obtaining the horse gene. Whip is currently fusing for the host, please wait. After the sound of the system sounded, a warm current once again poured into Ainley's body. After his first experience, Ainley knew that genes were merging. However, just as Ainley was eagerly waiting to know the efficacy of this whip. Suddenly, I feel as if some part of my body is expanding. Subconsciously, Ainley widened his eyes and then looked under himself. The intense swelling sensation instantly spread throughout the body. This. In an instant, Ainley understood the efficacy of this whip gene. Because at this point, Ainley's robes had already been propped up. After glancing around, Ainley immediately ran towards his nearby residence. This is the palace. If someone sees this scene, wouldn't it be useless? So, Ainley's subconscious was to quickly hide. After running back to his residence in a flash, Ainley immediately closed the door. Watching it constantly expand, grow, expand, in a localized position. Ainley was completely blinded. How much is this going to rise? Shouldn't it be like a horse? Time passes by minute by second. After experiencing enlargement and expansion, Ainley found that her body gradually returned to normal. But the so-called normal is not very normal either. Because it is much larger than the normal size. But fortunately, it's not too exaggerated, like a horse. Seeing this scene, Ainley finally breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay. Fortunately, it's not too exaggerated. Otherwise, this palace would definitely not be able to stay any longer. After looking at the sample, some strange genes cannot be easily fused. If we make another elephant in the future. Thinking about Ainley feels outrageous. With the experience of fusing genes twice, Ainley also knows how to choose the next time. A weekly opportunity cannot be wasted casually. After looking at the samples, be sure to choose some species with unique characteristics. This way, extracting genes won't waste the skill bar. And Ainley also summarized an experience. Next time, after fusing genes, be sure to choose a secluded corner. Otherwise, it may be easily discovered by others. If someone discovers it without complete self-protection ability, it's terrible. After these two experiences, Ainley already knew the genes he would extract next time. Special, with self-protection ability, can greatly strengthen oneself. And it is still within this palace that he can come into contact with. To sum up, there is only one answer given to Ainley. Ants. More than 400 times one's own strength. This is definitely the best choice. He is currently in the palace, and it is almost impossible for him to go out with his current abilities. So, too many special species cannot be found at all. But ants can be seen everywhere. And ants have special strength genes that exceed their own strength by 400 times. Once integrated, then you can gain 400 times more power than yourself. Ainley's current weight is 70 kilograms, not right. Ainley lowered his head to look at his newly crazily growing body and tugged at the corner of his mouth. It should have exceeded 70 kilograms by now. Of course, round it up to 70 kilograms. 400 times. 70 times 400. That's the force of 28,000 kilograms, 56,000 kilograms. A punch is equivalent to 56,000 pounds. What won't break with a hammer? Of course, the prerequisite is that one must also be able to carry such a great force. Otherwise, according to the strength that the physical body can carry, although there is a force that can knock down the city gate with a single punch, under such a large force, the body will inevitably be unable to withstand it. So, having power alone is not enough, we also need to have a defense against each other. Only in this way can we complement each other. Outside the stable, Hifu searched around but couldn't see Yinli's figure. Seeing Yinli not in the stable, Hifu immediately took out a bag from the corner of the stable. Subsequently, the hay in the bag was directly mixed into the stable of half of the stable managed by Yinli. After pouring in the hay, Hifu immediately hid the bag containing the hay under the manger. After glancing at the empty surroundings, Hifu finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Kid, don't blame me for being ruthless. Who said you blocked my financial path? Remember to be someone in your next life." Black Man clapped his hands with a sneer on his face. After watching the horses belonging to Yinli's management gradually clean up the grass, Hifu bowed his body in satisfaction and left. P.S. New book Seeking Flowers, review tickets, monthly tickets. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 004, Being Accused, Red Lotus Inquisitions. New. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 004, Being Accused, Red Lotus Inquisitions. New book seeks flowers. Time flies for several days. Stop, what kind of person? In front of a sleeping palace gate, a palace maid reached out and stopped a black man dressed in eunuch attire, bowing down with a flattering expression on his face. Hifu hurriedly replied to the maid standing in front of the bedroom door, "Well, the villain is the eunuch who raises horses for the Royal Highness Princess." A horse owner. The palace maid, dressed in a light green long dress, looked up and down at Hifu, her eyes full of disgust. "Do you know where this place is? What are you doing here if you don't take good care of your horse? Go, don't stand here blocking the way." The palace maid waved impatiently and drove away the black man standing in front of the palace gate. Hifu hurriedly explained. "Well, I have something important to report to the Royal Highness Princess." "What's important?" The palace maid frowned and looked at the black man. "What important thing can you do? Is the princess something you say you can see? Hurry up and avoid the road. If the princess comes out later and sees you blocking the way here, be careful not to get whipped. Quickly dodge." The palace maid waved away as she spoke. Watching the black man who couldn't get in, he took 2 steps next to him. While pondering what to do, suddenly a person walked out of the palace. A girl dressed in a white and pink skirt. The girl's footsteps were light, wearing gemstone accessories on her head, and there was also a delicate leather-woven whip hanging from her waist. The position of the grip is also embedded with a red gemstone. Seeing the young girl walking out of the palace, Hifu's eyes suddenly lit up. As soon as the girl walked out of the palace gate, Hifu knelt directly on the ground. Black servant, kowtow to Princess Honglian. Red Lotus, who was about to leave, glanced at the black man kneeling on the ground. Then Daimei raised her eyebrows and asked, "Who are you?" At this time, the palace maid who was guarding the door also knelt aside and hurriedly explained. "Royal Highness Princess, this man said that she was a eunuch who raised horses for Royal Highness Princess. He said that if he had something important to report to the Royal Highness Princess, he would not leave even if the maidservant asked him to leave." "What's important?" Red Lotus looked up and down at the black man kneeling on the ground. "What important thing can a eunuch who raises horses have?" "Tell me, what's going on?" said Red Lotus. Hefton's face brightened when he bowed his head, and then he quickly said, "Royal Highness Princess, maidservants are eunuchs who are specially responsible for raising horses for princesses and children's." Just now, the servant noticed that the princess's horse, Treading Cloud, seemed to be not working. The maidservant knew that it was the favorite horse of the Royal Highness Princess, so she did not dare to delay coming to report. "What? Do you think my step on the clouds is going to die?" Red Lotus's face changed. The black man kneeling on the ground quickly nodded. Tell me, what's going on? Why are you dying? Tayun is the name of a horse, which is pitch black in color but has white hooves on all four limbs, hence its name. That was given to Honglian by her brother Han Fei when he went on a study tour. It is said that when Tayun grows up, he will return from his study tour. Red Lotus is exceptionally precious to that horse. I can't help but go and take a few glances on weekdays. But these days, due to Han Fei's return from a study tour, Honglian has not been there for several days. Your Royal Highness Princess, in the early days of your Royal Highness Princess, the steppe cloud was always fed by slaves. Just over a dozen days ago, another eunuch was transferred from the palace. Later, the eunuch named Yen Li was responsible for the Royal Highness Princess's stepping on the clouds. A few days ago, it was okay, but these days, the servants saw that the Royal Highness Princess's spirit of stepping on the clouds was getting worse and worse. And that eunuch named Yen Li knows to slack off all day and doesn't care. The maidservant could not speak even if he spoke lightly, so he had to report it to the Royal Highness Princess. After listening to Hifu's words, Honglian roughly understood what had happened. So he hurriedly walked towards the position of the stable. That was given to me by Brother Jiu. If I die, how can I explain to Brother Jiu? The black man kneeling at the palace gate with his head lowered chuckled. Outside the stable on the west side of the palace, Yen Li lay with his hands on a pile of dry grass, basking in the sun. There is also a pottery jar next to Yen Li. There are many ants inside the pottery jar. There are all kinds, big, small, black, and red. There are also those with wings. These are all collected by Yen Li around the stable these past few days. Just wait until the time is up to extract genes from these ants. 400 times the strength. Yen Li couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. If this were to be punched on the body, wouldn't it just be smashed into pieces? If combined, it can strengthen the body's genes. A punch is enough to smash the city gate. The third gene lock can be unlocked in just 3 days. When the third gene lock is unlocked, that is, when Yen Li leaves the palace. While Yen Li was lying on a pile of dry grass with his legs crossed, trembling, a sound of footsteps suddenly sounded. The footsteps were rapid and light, and at first glance, they were not Hifu's. Yen Li opened his eyes. What caught the eye was a young girl hurriedly dressed in a white and pink skirt. Red Lotus. Yen Li was taken aback. It seemed that Yen Li, who was lying on a pile of dry grass, had not been seen. Red Lotus hurriedly walked straight to the stable. When she saw Tayun lying on the ground and spitting white foam out of her mouth, Honglian looked around angrily. Finally, I saw Yen Li on the dry grass pile. Are you Yen Li? Red Lotus reached out and pointed at Yen Li, asking sternly. P.S. New book Seeking Flowers, review tickets, monthly tickets. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 005, Whipping. New book seeks flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. New book seeking support. You are listening at novelfull.audio. To further improve the reading quality, the author is revising this chapter and will read it again in 24 hours. Please refer to the next chapter. If you have subscribed to the VIP chapter, there will be no duplicate charges for next viewing. If you have not subscribed, there will be no deduction for this time. Chapter 005, Whipping. New book seeks flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 005, Whipping. New book seeks flowers. Yen Li, holding a straw in his mouth, looked at the Red Lotus in front of him. Honglian, the daughter of Han Wangen. It is said that she is also the favorite daughter of Han Wangan, young Master Han Fei's sister, a Korean princess. Ainli is familiar with these materials. How did Honglian know his name, and she still looked like she was asking for help? Ainli nodded in confusion. Don't kneel down when you see this princess. Before Ainli could react on what had happened, Red Lotus reached out and pointed to the nearby stable. It was you who killed my stepping on the clouds. My princess wants you to accompany me in the clouds for burial today. As she spoke, Honglian had already taken off the whip hanging from her waist. The exquisite whip made of animal skin is also wrapped with gold thread. The ruby on the handle at the end flickers in the sunlight, reflecting a stream of light. Before Ainli, who was sitting on the haystack, could react, Honglian had already shaken off her whip. Pop! A crisp sound sounded, and the whip whipped straight towards Ainli's face. Fortunately, Ainli reacted quickly. As soon as he dodged the whip pulled by Honglian. What are you doing? Who caused your stepping on the clouds to die? What kind of nerves are you getting? Ainli's anger also rose from being whipped by this whip. Ta-Yun Ainli knew that it was the mount of the Red Lotus. A black and white hoofed horse. The horses in this stable are all the mounts of the palace prince and princess. Ainli knew it from the day he arrived at this stable. But in the morning, Ainli even fed those mounts. They were fine just now, why are they dead now? Speaking, Ainli instinctively looked towards the direction of the stable. As expected, in the stable behind the Red Lotus, the horse belonging to the Red Lotus, Ta-Yun, was indeed lying on the ground and foaming at the mouth. Ainli's eyebrows furrowed tightly, how could this be? It shouldn't be. It was just fine. And no, it's not right. Ainli clearly remembers that he was still fine when he was eating grass just now. Lying here for only a moment, how could I die? And then since Honglian has just arrived here, it is clear that she has come to provoke criticism. How did she know? In an instant, a figure appeared in Ainli's mind. Hifu. That's right, it's Hifu. There are only the two of them who drink in this stable all day. Just when feeding the horse, Ainli saw the black man. Just for a while, Hifu doesn't know where to go anymore. And at this moment, the Red Lotus happened to come again. There is only one possibility, which is that Hifu went to notify Honglian. When Hifu was leaving, the horse was still in good condition. Is it difficult for a black man to predict? Ainli did not believe that Hifu was an unpredictable eunuch. Since Hifu is not an unpredictable eunuch, there is only one answer. It was Hifu who tampered with the cloud-treading horse and then went to notify Honglian. And when Honglian arrived here, it happened to be the time when the horse couldn't step on the clouds anymore. Hifu, this damn eunuch is actually plotting against me. Ainli frowned tightly. But now is clearly not the time to retaliate against Hifu. Because in front of me, you're bold. Dare to speak to this princess like that. Kneel down. It was you who caused the death of my princess step on the clouds. My princess wants you to pay for your life. As she spoke, the whip in Honglian's hand swung over again. And this time the whip is faster. Ainli tried his best to dodge, but was still whipped on his arm. The burning pain immediately spread throughout the entire arm. The sleeve had already been torn to pieces by this whip, and a red whip mark appeared on Ainli's arm. Pain. A burning pain. Damn it. Ainli gritted his teeth tightly. It's only 3 days away. It's only 3 days away. As long as he is given 3 more days, he can extract the genes of ants, and then he will have the ability to protect himself. But now at this moment, the whip in Honglian's hand struck again. Ainli immediately dodged to the side. Pop. Click. After the sound of the whip sounded, the pottery jar that had just been placed next to Ainli was shattered. The ants that Ainli caught in the past 2 days suddenly scattered all over the ground, and then quickly crawled away towards the surroundings. Ainley gritted his teeth and looked at the Red Lotus standing not far away, about to wave her whip again. There are countless eunuchs and palace maids like him in this palace. Even if they were killed, no one would ever interfere. Moreover, Honglian is still Han Wangan's favorite princess. Killing a eunuch would not be pursued by anyone. And now he is speechless. At this moment, Honglian is feeling angry. The death of the beloved horse, coupled with Ainley's performance at this moment, further enhanced the atmosphere of the Red Lotus. Without hitting Ainley with 3 consecutive whips, the Red Lotus shell clenched its teeth and vigorously swung another whip. This time, Ainley was not hiding. Hiding like this is not a solution at all. Even if Red Lotus doesn't have a murderous heart now, in case it attracts others or palace guards later. At that time, the situation will be difficult to say. If one is accused of attacking a royal princess and disobeying her, they will undoubtedly die. So, with a cruel heart and gritted his teeth, Ainley rushed up against the whip of the Red Lotus. Pop! This time, the whip fell hard on Ainley's body. And Ainley also grabbed the whip with one hand. This scene stunned the whip-wielding Red Lotus. Why didn't he hide? While Red Lotus was still puzzled, Ainley had already forcefully pulled the whip. Suddenly caught off guard, Honglian didn't have time to let go and felt like she was being carried forward. Then it fell into the hands of Ainley. Ainley grabbed onto Red Lotus's wrist. I didn't kill that horse, it was. Before Ainley could finish speaking, Red Lotus struggled and said, You let go of me. You let go, you're not letting go, I'm calling out. Shout for someone. Ainley glanced left and right. If Honglian really calls someone, it will be troublesome. Subconsciously, Ainley didn't even think about it and immediately covered Red Lotus's mouth. Then he grabbed the Red Lotus directly into his arms. Anyway, Honglian is also a young girl. Ainley has great strength there. Struggling aimlessly for a few times, I couldn't get rid of it. So he could only open his mouth and bite into Ainley's hand. Hiss. Ainley took a cold breath from the pain of eating. However, Ainley did not let go, but picked up the Red Lotus and headed towards the house where he lived not far away. Seeing this scene made Honglian even more panicked. Struggling vigorously. Be honest, otherwise I'll kill you now, Ainley said in a threatening tone. The struggling Red Lotus froze in the next second. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 006. But Spanking, hit hard. 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. To further improve the reading quality, the author is revising this chapter and will read it again in 24 hours. Please refer to the next chapter. If you have subscribed to the VIP chapter, there will be no duplicate charges for next viewing. If you have not subscribed, there will be no deduction for this time. Chapter 006. But Spanking, hit hard. 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 006. But Spanking, hit hard. 6. New book seeks fresh flower data. After being intimidated by Ainley's threatening tone, Honglian was clearly stunned. From childhood to adulthood, from the moment of birth, Honglian has been the princess of Korea and the apple of the eye of the king of Korea. Rich clothing and abundant food, countless servants. No matter who it is, let her have some respect. Her father loved her, and her brothers and sisters let her. The courtiers in the court should also respectfully call her Princess Honglian. Has anyone ever threatened her? So, when Ainley spoke, Honglian was stunned. In this moment, Honglian was carried into the room by Ainley. As soon as he entered the room, Ainley threw the Red Lotus directly onto the bed. Then he rode directly onto the Red Lotus lying on the bed. Red Lotus suddenly panicked. What are you doing? You let go of me. Red Lotus panicked and wanted to get up, but was pinned down on the bed and unable to get up. Ainley bared his teeth, and the whiplash on his body felt a burning pain. Let Ainley feel a wave of anger. He provoked whoever he recruited. The old eunuch who raised horses framed herself, and this unruly princess easily came up to demand her own name. Thinking about it, Ainley slapped the Red Lotus's Chiaotuan directly. Pop. A crisp sound. At this moment it was scorching summer, and Honglian was only wearing a refreshing gauze skirt. Ainley slapped him and suddenly felt a tight grip. Use a whip to whip me. I'll have you whip me. As he spoke, Ainley raised his hand again. Another slap fell. With 2 consecutive slaps, the Red Lotus was completely blinded. The brain went blank for a moment. If threatened, don't say anything. Surprisingly, he was also beaten. And he's also a eunuch. The shameful Hongxia also climbed onto her fair and pretty face. You damn servant, let go of me quickly. I want my father the king to kill you. Pop. Another slap fell. Ainley pressed against the Red Lotus, his arms raised high. Kill me. Okay. Pop. Give it a slap. I'll kill you before your father kills me. Pop. Ainley slapped again. You are a princess from Korea, I am just a humble eunuch. Let's exchange our lives and see who suits us. Pop. Ainley, who lifted his arm, slapped again. I'm not just going to kill you, I'll strip you of all your clothes later and leave you in the most crowded area of the palace. Let everyone appreciate the naked appearance of South Korean Princess Honglian. Pop. Ainley arched left and right, hit the left side 4 or 5 times, and then slapped the right side. The pain emanating from her body, combined with humiliation in Ainley's verbal threats, immediately made Honglian panic. After all, she is just a girl. The thought of being stripped naked and still in front of everyone. The feeling of panic and fear suddenly filled my whole body, and I began to struggle vigorously. But this time, there were no more threatening words shouting at Ainley, but shouting for help. Father. Save me. Someone. Who will save me? The bed is just that big, a single bed. The Red Lotus, dressed in a long dress with a pink base and white embellishments, was pressed down from behind by Ainley and couldn't move at all. The bedding on the bed was now rolled together. Thinking of being stripped naked, Red Lotus clenched her teeth with both hands and feet, wanting to get up from the bed and lift Ainley off. And when Ainley heard Red Lotus start shouting again, it was a frantic hand that covered Honglian's mouth. But in this way, it gave Honglian an opportunity to take advantage of. The struggling Red Lotus did not succeed in getting up. But he turned around from the bed. He waved his arms in panic and kept kicking his legs. I don't know if it's fear or other reasons, but sweat drips down from the forehead of the Red Lotus. However, what Honglian didn't notice was that a primitive aura was activated from Ainley's body by her struggle. There's a saying that goes, well, the more you struggle, the more excited I become. What they know is that at this moment, the two are desperately inside the house. But I don't know, just looking at the movements, I thought the words are also clever. The Red Lotus, waving its arms wildly, seemed to have grabbed something. Then it will be urgently used to strike Ainley. However, under great effort, it did not pull out. Ainley covered Red Lotus's mouth with one hand, and his gaze gradually changed. After struggling for a while and feeling exhausted, Honglian also glanced at Ainley. At this point, the 4 eyes are facing each other. Seeing the Red Lotus in Ainley's eyes, she immediately felt a different aura. Although as a young girl. But Honglian is a princess of the royal family, not a girl from an ordinary family, so she naturally needs to know more about women and men. When she saw the change in Ainley's face and her gaze, Red Lotus suddenly realized something. What is he going to do? You can think about it again. He is a eunuch, what can he do? Red Lotus was groping with both hands, trying to seize this opportunity to defeat Ainli and escape. So he forcefully tugged at the thing in his hand again. Still not pulled. However, the next second Honglian felt something was wrong. Subconsciously taking a glance, Honglian instantly froze in place. You are not a eunuch. Red Lotus exclaimed in terror. P.S. 10 updates a day is guaranteed, that's right, 10 updates. As for the data, it depends on everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 006. But Spanking, hit hard. 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. To further improve the reading quality, the author is revising this chapter and will read it again in 24 hours. Please refer to the next chapter. If you have subscribed to the VIP chapter, there will be no duplicate charges for next viewing. If you have not subscribed, there will be no deduction for this time.